But we're talking about human behavior and personal interactions. Those are nuanced conversations that should become a ongoing conversation between you and your subordinate. So you need to make it a learning moment for both of you. You're tuned in to the Breaking Red podcast, the show for rising military leaders who want to trailblaze the future. We tackle the profession of arms with creative solutions to dynamic issues. This isn't your typical leadership course, so be ready to step up your game and define the future. I am your host, Gabriel Gay Brocavilla. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to Breaking Red. Gay Brock here on the mic, feeling positive, feeling excited to record. Just some insight on how some of my workflow in the whole thing. So today is Friday, and I anticipate on doing my post-production editing and publishing episodes every Sunday. So if I can set that method consistently, I also write to my website, projectrise.co, every Sunday. So I post articles Sundays, and then I do some social media stuff after that, and then I record my the podcast episodes on Sunday or Fridays, I should say, and then publish them on Sunday. And the reason why is because I'm trying to develop my positive habits as far as why I feel so good on Fridays is because my new job that I have here at JFHU Doden, I only work Monday through Thursday. And at first, I wasn't sure how that was going to work. That happens to be the shift that I'm assigned, and I'm not mad about it. Not at all. There's a time where I was comparing it to like the grind of being a squadron commander, which is a full-time job, right? And so because you always got to bring your work home, well, you shouldn't bring your work home, but you bring your work phone home, and you're just potentially on the call for anything that needs to happen. That same sort of setup is not necessarily here, and those demands are not required of me here for my current job. So on Fridays, I wake up and I go to Crofton CrossFit, hit up a good weightlifting, and then move into the WOD. This morning was terrible. It was running, moderate weight hang power cleans, moderate weight front squats, but then it was 30-inch box jumps. So that is a tall box jump, and it made me think about my life flash before my eyes a couple times, but it was a good workout. And hit that up, was home, made it back to the house, was able to see Benjamin, see him off to school a little bit. The wifey's off to the gym, and then now I'm downstairs recording this episode. So if I can make this I will make this as a constant habit as much as possible, but it allows me to just kind of focus on what I need to be talking about. So Episode 8, super happy that we got here. A lot of cool stuff just happening with the launch of the podcast, and just been receiving a lot of positive feedback as well as recommendations of topics that people want me to address. And that was the whole point of having the podcast, is trying to figure out what are the topics that are passionate, either that I'm passionate about or people are passionate about, and let's bring them to the front and see how we can tackle them together. So the main place that we have these conversations, if you want to write them in, if you don't know me personally, because I get a lot of texts from people, but join our Facebook page. So just search for Breaking Red Podcast and send a message through there, or just reply or post to the page. And that's probably the quickest way that you get my attention, and then I'll be able to figure out where I can fit you in and address it accordingly. Some of the topics that were submitted probably require a full episode because they're really good and deep subjects, but other ones I think I can quickly address, and that's what today's episode is going to be. It's going to be, I call it a hot 3, where I can quickly address 3 topics in short fashion that either hopefully can answer the question or can serve as a jumping off point to have follow-on discussions. But the objective is to tackle three topics versus one topic in a regular episode, more of a deep dive in those ones. This is going to be quick shots, and then hopefully it'll either answer your questions as far as my perspective, or we'll do some follow-on stuff. You'll let me know however you want to send me some feedback, and we'll go from there. All right, so the first 2 topics are from Amanda DeFazio, a friend of the show. And so she and I served together at JBEAR, and excellent senior NCO. I was very, very lucky to have her a part of the team, and I learned a lot from her along the way. So her first topic was managing expectations. And that was it, just managing expectations. So here's my take. Expectations, you have three directions, right? You have your upwards, sideways, and downwards. So you're up your chain of command for your immediate boss, managing expectations for your peers, especially if depending on where you're at within the organization. Could be squadron commander, could be section chief to section chief within the squadron. So your immediate peers or your rank as well, right? So if you're a CGO or a senior NCO, you have your immediate peers as well. And then downwards, so your immediate subordinates all the way down the chain of command. So how do you manage expectations for in all three of those directions? I think the key to managing them is going to be compromise, which is a different kind of and each relationship is going to have a different level of compromise because sometimes you can shape it. So if you think about it going downwards, the subordinate is probably going to be the one that has to do a little bit more compromising than the supervisor. So me as a squadron commander, I had to fall in the line with whatever my group and wing commander needed to have. And then that therefore shaped a little bit more of expectations going down the road. But inevitably, it's all based on compromise. And it doesn't necessarily mean that only it's one way or the highway. It's a way of just figuring out here are each individual's personal tendencies that they tend towards, and how can we make these work because we're trying to inevitably just remove unnecessary tension. That's what I believe managing expectation does, is it removes the cloud of I'm not really sure what he or she is talking about or thinking about or how they're going to take this. And in order to eliminate that cloud, that's essentially managing expectations. You can set those pretty clear as far as, the Air Force expects you to have an initial feedback. That's where you should manage expectations. At least you document them, but you should use that as a point in time to have a conversation. And this is going to be the best way that you start off the initial conversation to lay out some of those expectations. And then after that, then it becomes a thing of you have to be consistent. And both sides have to be consistent in developing trust, because that's inevitably, it's not going to mean anything if you set early expectations but you don't hold yourself accountable to them. Then it further increases the tension and murkies up the cloud between the two of you, where it's going to be unable and you're just going to be causing unnecessary energy be expended towards something that should just be talked about and quickly addressed. But in order for that to work, you have to be consistent. So an example of that as you go along, so you have your initial feedback. And so if you said, kind of like my recommendations before, priority communications. So please email me things if you need to email me, but I may not immediately get to them. If it's an emergency, please call my phone and I'll immediately call you back. So you have to hold yourself accountable to that. So for instance, here's an example. We had that same conversation where my wing commander told me, if I'm emailing or texting you, it's probably not an emergency, but if I call you, that's probably going to mean something. Of course, ma'am. And that was fair enough. And then there's a point where I think she was just unable to call me about something, but it was an emergency information she needed. And she actually apologized. It was over dinner time and she apologized. She said in the text, I apologize for texting you, but I need this quick piece of information. So clearly she's diverting from her previously established expectations, but she recognized it. And so I appreciated that, and I understood and got her what she needed to do and moved on. But those are the kind of things where you're recognizing it's not a hold fast kind of thing. It's a make sure that we had the initial, and she didn't do that again after that. So again, further being consistent with what you initially established, and then constantly working on those things and double checking those things to minimize all the confusion between you two. This is going to be the best way you can do that. So managing expectations, really what you want to do is just removing unnecessary tension. All right, so topic 2 is effectively using criticism. And so the classic advice as far as praise in public and criticize in private still reigns true with me. And there's clear ways to praising in public is a really easy thing. It's free 99. You could do that and you'd be surprised how much people miss out on those opportunities to offer praise in public and it really brings the team together and you're going to unlock a lot of things. And so highly recommend doing that as often as you can when people earn it. Don't just do it. Everybody gets a trophy kind of praise. When people earn it, you need to be able to find the right timing and tempo when you need to recognize everyone's efforts. But criticizing in private obviously is what we're going to be talking about here. So timing is crucial. A lot of times there's going to be people ineffectively deliver criticism because they take too long. And whatever the reason is, you're going to have to, there's no excuse behind that. You should find the timing and tempo in order to deliver some criticism as quickly as possible. And it always has to be in person or it should not be within an electronic medium. Never, ever over email. You already know how my feelings about email are, but you're going to only use those things in order to set up a upcoming meeting, or we need to go figure out, hey, want to have a discussion. A phone call is an acceptable one because sometimes you can't The tyranny of distance may not allow you to have a face-to-face conversation, but definitely don't do it over email. And there needs to be a personal connection when you're giving criticism. And it's because it's a human to human interaction. It should never be transmitted electronically. I just think that offers, that's kind of like the wife and I were talking about this morning. One of the downfalls about social media is, you can share everything, whatever you want to do, but whatever your thoughts are. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. So just because you can send some criticism over email, highly recommend don't ever do that, because it's a very shallow and impersonal way of having an important conversation. So if you're going to be delivering criticism, I think you're responsible for tailoring the message to the receiver. And so hopefully you've already developed a relationship with this person that you know the best way to handle that. If some people can handle a little bit more harsh or very, very direct conversations, then you can go with that approach. But if you have some nuance, because they're quick to have an immediate response without listening to you. You're going to have to figure out those things. So the bottom line for that piece is you need to know your audience before you engage them. If you know your audience, you should know, especially I'll say that this is a younger generation thing, the positive sandwich model. And so you've heard in different management or leadership seminars to talk about, okay, so if you're going to deliver some criticism, start off with something positive, deliver the criticism, and then end with something positive. So what can happen is, what I've seen is, maybe it's not even younger generational. I've seen people to where they just remember the last portion. I say younger people because I'm just thinking about my kids. I'll be telling them something, whatever it is, and I'll say hey, so you need to do better about this or that, but you did a good job on this. They're just going to remember the last part. They don't necessarily remember the criticism portion that I'm trying to talk about, that I'm trying to deliver to them is what I want to see, the change in their behavior. And so you have to be cognizant of that and making sure positive sandwich models, you have to make sure they focus on the meat, not the bread. That's probably a good way to saying that. Also, when you're delivering it, you can make this a way to make sure that it's not a one-sided knife hand conversation, unless that's required. And there's definitely pieces of criticism that should be and just be a quick set it and forget it and just stop doing this kind of piece. If it's not those, if we're talking about behavior, there's here's a standard or here's a rule or here's an operation that you didn't do correctly, stop doing that and fix it. That's pretty easy. But if we're talking about human behavior and personal interactions, those are nuanced conversations that should become a ongoing conversation between you and your subordinate. So you need to make it a learning moment for both of you, to the point where you can have a conversation, see exactly, hey, so I think I struggled with this kind of feedback too. I had this same issue when I was coming up as CGO. Here's some things you need to do as well. Here's how I worked on it, and then carry on the conversation in the next week or two or month or two. Be like, hey man, so I saw that. Did you follow up and read that thing I sent you, or whatever it is? Have you further talked to the other person? How did the follow-on conversations go? Make it an enduring conversation instead of just a set it and forget it event, especially for those developing personal traits and habits kind of stuff. But yeah, that really important when you take ownership if you're going to be delivering the criticism, and take ownership of that event. If you're receiving it, which a lot of us are going to be in that mode, you need to lower your barriers and your tendency to go into self-defense mode, and that is hard. You won't know how to do that effectively unless you work on your self-awareness. And there's times where, even recently, like as in 2 days ago, is where I was in receive mode, where my coworkers, where she told me that, yeah, so I need you to stop doing my job. And I was like, I wasn't sure. And she when an event happened, she told me she wanted to talk to me, but she had to walk away because she was so upset, and that she caught up with me with 2 days. The fact that she shared that information with me, I was eating breakfast at the time. I just stopped and gave her my undivided attention because I respected her. That's a hard thing to come to. I appreciated her taking the time and energy to want to address it with me, and we had a good conversation. And I actively listened. I didn't go into self-defense mode and try and say, well, you should be doing it like this, or why are you taking so long? That would have just further fractured the relationship. She mentioned how she's relatively new to the job and she knows I can do it, but that's in my position within the team. That's not my job. My position has other responsibilities, and I need to allow her to do hers. And so it was kind of along the lines of, she was telling me, # don't be an asshole, what I was also hearing in my head was be a good teammate, be a good teammate, because that's a kind of criticism and feedback that I received when I left command. And so I need to be a better teammate. And so just because I can doesn't mean I should, just like the social media comment that I had earlier. So I took the feedback well, and I marinated on those thoughts for a little bit, talked amongst some other teammates, not necessarily like calling her out, but just being like, hey, I need to make sure I'm focusing on what I need to do and setting her up for success. And that's what I should, that's to me, that's the whole point of being a good teammate, and don't be an asshole. It's not all about me. And I wasn't consciously trying to do things to slight her or make anybody look bad. But just because I wasn't consciously trying to do it doesn't mean it wasn't happening. So if she gave me that feedback in order to become a better teammate, it's my responsibility to follow up on that and do what I can do. So I was very thankful for that. I thanked her for opening up to me and sharing her thoughts, and I'm going to continue to try and do my best to be a good teammate for her. So couple of things on effectively using criticism. So topic 3 is a shout out to Josh Hawkins, friend of the show, who will also be an upcoming guest. So he was actually a fellow squadron commander for the first year when I was at JBEAR. He's a force support officer and really good friend, where him and I have a lot of good conversations over lots of different topics. But like, he's a passionate leader, and I respect and was thankful for some of the texts that we have all the time. Him and I would be having like meme wars all the time. He sat next to me in a staff meeting a lot, or every single time, and I would constantly just try and distract him. He was always trying to do work, and I was trying to distract him. It was hilarious, from my perspective anyway. So he also now owns 6.73% of the intellectual property of this episode, because he's the one that brought up this topic. And the topic was, is the I word a convenient distraction from improving our core functions or traditions? So that's when he texted me that, I'm like, that's an interesting way of putting it, convenient distraction. So it's almost like we're like, yeah, so if we can just use the I word and just, we want to throw everything under the I word. Yeah, but like, we haven't fixed the things that we should be fixing in the first place. And so how do we measure the risk and balance making something incrementally better or starting fresh? Because the core of I word things is like, we're going to take a brand new approach to solving a problem. But do we need to do it with a completely swap out? And I know this is kind of overgeneralization, but for sake of argument, is it better to just find a complete swap out? Like, I'm just going to completely throw out that entire thing, versus I'm looking to make incremental improvements, which actually can potentially deliver even better efficiencies and productivity. And so those are kind of things. That's why I'm tired of using the I word, because you're just kind of trying to, in my opinion, some of those efforts can be distractions, and you're placing a lot of time and energy towards trying to get to the new hotness versus just making incremental improvements, right? And so there's definitely bureaucratic things and process-driven things that we just need to stop doing. Like, why does even when I see, for instance, like a quarterly award program. So award programs are part of our force structure for a reason. It identifies people who have exceptional performance, I should say. But when you look at an entire model, and it's like, okay, so you have to submit the 1206, and then then the format's like, we need to have, the lines are 10-2-2, we'll say, for the 3 sections. And then why do we need so many damn lines? How about we just have it like 4-1-1 or something like that? And I've seen different, I know that program ends up becoming different for each base, and each base has different writing things. Those kind of things are just, why don't we just make those things better? And I'm not saying throw everything out. I'm just saying, like, just reduce the amount of times that you have to, the number of bullets you have to submit, and then just make the process faster. That would essentially make everything better if you're just focusing on making incremental improvements versus just starting a brand new awards program. Should we focus on trying to change things as far as physical objects or the new weapon systems, or should we be changing how airmen should think? And I would say, and I know there's a larger movement to try and improve airmen thinking, and I'm really behind that. That's the kind of stuff I want to address here on the podcast, is really making sure that how are we leveraging our thoughts and different approaches of solving problems? Because there's probably, when General Goldfein says the answers to some of these problems are out here in the audience, that they're amongst our airmen, I firmly believe that. But how do we enable those things effectively and overcoming the bureaucratic kind of stuff that has been bogging us down? So We'll see exactly where iWord things can truly deliver what they're supposed to be doing. I've seen the AFWorks videos, and I've seen some of the stuff going on at different iWord labs that they have out all over the place. I think what Josh is addressing, though, is there's a lot of good improvements that are happening out there that don't necessarily fit under the iWord, yet needs to be brought to the forefront accordingly, because they're part of our core traditions. They're part of our core functions that make us airmen. And so we shouldn't just be distracted because I slap the iWord on something versus something that just makes our Air Force better, because it just needs to be done. I don't have to put a fancy label on it. It just makes us better. So there you go for this episode, Hot 3. Try to address three topics from the user feedback. Again, the Facebook page will probably be the place where all the ongoing dialogue will happen. And so we have lots of, if I don't necessarily answer it, I may know some people I can connect the dots and hook you up with people who can answer those questions for you. So lots of experience and rising leaders can help you navigate through all the bullshit and questions that are out there. Provide real answers, because I think that's what, instead of necessarily getting the nice polished Air Force leadership answer, maybe you can get some feedback from a different angle from people who have experienced some of these things or currently experiencing some of these issues. That way you can use those tactics and techniques to make yourself a better leader and make your teams perform even better. So some of the answers that we provide you may not like, but I'm not in the business of doing things that you're going to like. I'm interested in delivering you with truthful things and things that will help everyone get through it all, because I truly believe just because you don't like it doesn't mean the answer is not right. So you're going to have to get over yourself and just make sure that you can rise to be the best that you can be. So with that, we'll close this Hot 3 episode. Looking forward to more of these and further discussions within the team. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace. This is Gabe Brock, and thanks for tuning into the Breaking Red podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review so we can improve our work and deliver the best content possible. You can find our community platforms on Facebook and YouTube by searching for Breaking Red Podcast. Keep up with weekly content at our website, projectrise.co, and you can find me on Instagram at GayBrock01. Like, follow, and share Breaking Red Podcast content everywhere possible, both the good and the bad. Join our conversations with other rising military leaders that aren't afraid to break red and learn how to rise to your potential.